where are people getting access to psychedelics? Things that were mentioned in the earlier session particularly. So it's such a broad topic, you know, it's like, oh God, you know, you have X number of minutes and 5 experts that could spend a day up on this stuff, yes? Talking about psychedelic psychotherapy or DMT or the wonderful things that are happening with Amanita, Iboga. So we're going to touch on it today, and then you can ask specific questions. I want to let each person introduce themselves and kind of what they're doing currently. Love to hear a little bit of your story too, Christian. You can use that mic.
Sure,
great.
Yeah. So I'm Christian Rasmussen. I'm the owner of Amanita. We were the first to bring Amanita muscaria here to the States and start selling it, you know, to scale. We've, you know, kind of spearheaded this new burgeoning market around Amanita muscaria, and we're now the largest retailers in the world. Yeah, we're also kind of just starting to get into this synthetic analog space, which is another company that will be coming out at some point here soon, which I'm happy to talk a little bit about as well.
Great. Well, we can go on. Kind of we'll deep dive on each person. So you're tapping a legal psychedelic, a rarity. I did some last night, by the way.
How was it?
Amanita, anybody suffer from sleep, like can't sleep enough, that like wake up, that type of thing? So when you get older, you know, it's one of the things. So, because I'm not really upset, but I can't sleep, and I did some tincture. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it took a while to get you on Amanita.
I know. It's taken 2 years. I know. But I got there. So Amanita, what's your experience with Amanita? How did you get drawn to it?
Yeah, I mean, I was getting off of benzodiazepines in my late 20s. So benzos are Xanax, Klonopin, Ativan, Valium, your typical anti-anxiety medications. A really widespread epidemic that nobody's discussing. It's not dropping people like the opioid epidemic is. They're really hard to overdose off of, but I think it's something like 8% of Americans are prescribed with benzos.
What are some names that people would know about?
Xanax, Klonopin, Ativan, Valium, typical anti-anxiety medications. And they're notoriously known as the hardest drugs to get off of in the world. They're the only, you know, alcohol and benzodiazepines and barbiturates also, which aren't really used these days, are the only drugs that can kill people when coming off of them, because you can get seizures. So they have to be tapered over a very long period of time. And then the GABA and the glutamate system, which is what benzos affect the GABA system, GABA and glutamate are very intertwined. When these systems are off-kiltered, off-balance, it takes a long time for the brain to rebalance itself. So people can be off of, I have a friend, my cousin produced the documentary Medicating Normal, which follows people through benzo withdrawal. It's on Gaia, if anybody's interested, it's a really good documentary. Her business partner has been off of benzos for 10 years and is still in withdrawal. And she's like terrified consistently, can't leave her house. And it's technically not withdrawal, it's brain damage that one's dealing with at this point. But it's all the same to the user that's, you know, or the individual that's going through it. So I was off of benzos for a year, completely off, still in really, really awful withdrawal, brain damage. And I was, you know, seriously contemplating ending my life. My marriage was failing, life was falling apart. I couldn't, you know, maintain my business. And I was on this hike, like literally thinking about, you know, what I was gonna do and, you know, when I was gonna end it. And there were these mushrooms growing, and there was this extremely potent magnetic allure to these. I like to equate it to when you meet somebody who's gonna be a future partner or a future really close friend, like there's this pull to that individual. It was like that, but to a level that I'd never experienced before. And, you know, I say that the mushrooms spoke to me because in this state there was this like intuitive knowing that they had something for me and that in return I was gonna do something for them. And so I picked them and I went to the house and I did some research and there was no, you know, and I knew what these mushrooms were, like I've been a psychonaut since I was a kid, but I never tried them. And I knew that, you know, all the stories are like they're toxic, they're poisonous. And this is the Mario mushroom, by the way, the red mushroom with white dots. It's one of the most iconic symbols in the world, oftentimes depicted in fairy tales when the ordinary meets the mythical, right? But yeah, the narrative is that they're toxic and poisonous, which is what I'd always thought. And I'd heard experience reports of people consuming what I now know to be extraordinarily large amounts and not preparing it properly and having really bad experiences. So I had this, tainted image in my mind. But I did research and found out that they indeed hit the same receptor systems that benzodiazepines damage. There was one account online of a woman utilizing them to heal her brain after going through benzo withdrawal. So I was destitute at this point, so I was like, fuck it, let's give it a shot. And I tried them, and within like a couple weeks of microdosing, with a couple larger doses, to me it felt like I was 70-80% healed, which was miraculous. Like I was drowning for a year, and I could finally breathe again. And I joined this little budding community around these mushrooms, and it was never something that I intended to do to get into the business that we're in now, but somebody in the community asked me to start selling them because of my entrepreneurial past. And yeah, that's kind of the whole inception story. And since getting into it, my initial interest was helping people get off benzos, which thankfully we've probably helped facilitate 10,000-15,000 people get off of these drugs, and that's a really small number compared to the people that are suffering. But yeah, the real scope of efficacy is much wider than that. Yeah, I mean, I could talk about
I want to ask you a deeper question.
Yeah.
So the medicine spoke to you, and like many of us here in the panel, we get drawn into serving the medicine. And you did. And then you had a bad experience. And I'm wondering, and I want you to describe the experience, and I want you to tell us now, because this is a very astute crowd we have here. What did you think the medicine was saying from that experience?
Yeah.
Because I've never asked you that.
Yeah, so on November 1st of 2022, 111222, which is kind of fun, we got raided. And who knows what the actual story is. The narrative was they seized a package going internationally and tested it, and it hit for psilocybin. We don't sell any psilocybin. I've never sold any psilocybin. What I've learned is that their NIC tests, which are their reagent tests, you take the cocaine, you put it in the vial, you shake it, and if it turns purple, it's cocaine. If not, then it's not. We've learned that Amanita turns purple in the psilocybin one. So, but like somebody in that chain of command knew what we did, like they were very transparent about what we do. So yeah, I mean, they took a lot of material from me, like over a metric ton of product, and threw me in jail. And I honestly thought that I was framed, like, 'cause they did a mock delivery, and like they said that there was psilocybin in the package. So I thought that somebody sent me psilocybin, and I was going to go to jail for a long time. And yeah, I was looking at, they told me right off the rip, it's like 10 years minimum for these offenses, federal offenses, interstate trafficking essentially. And yeah, it was, fortunately I have a really good lawyer, and we got it all situated. I got out very quickly on the grounds that their tests are BS essentially. But then I had this like thing looming over my head for 6-8 months until we got the actual test back. I also learned later that they actually got the legitimate test back like a few weeks afterwards, but they just let me sit in fear for a long time. And I also I got the material back eventually, but it was old. It was also tainted with energy that like I'm not gonna sell, so I didn't feel comfortable doing it. So it was about $1 million hit, all in all, which was literally everything that I built up to that point. Yeah.
So your business was destroyed.
Everything was destroyed.
Your employees left you.
Everybody left, yeah. I mean, they had guns in their faces, right? Like, I probably working at this little warehouse in Minnesota.
I'm out of here, boss.
Yeah, I mean, everything was destroyed. We had to start from the ground up, which was, really difficult. It was also a really beautiful experience and beautiful lesson in a lot of ways. I learned a lot. I was working with, at this point in time, all these like big smoke shop brands that I call them, they started, perking their ears up to Amanita. And they hit me up, like months before this, everybody hit me up. And like I now happen to know like all these guys that own the companies that are the largest smoke shop brands in the country, which is advantageous. However, they all wanted Amanita, thinking it was going to be like the next Delta 8 or the next legal high. And I told everybody, you know, like, that's not what this is, but I will gladly sell you mushrooms if you want, you know. And I think that in some sense, you know, a lot of what I do, and a lot of what I've had to learn is how to take myself out of the equation on, you know, it's a mission that's much grander than myself. So when I tend to like try and reach and make things happen, you know, things tend to not go very well. And this was the big defining moment in me realizing that, like, okay, you need to step back and like let things play out as they're supposed to, because I was reaching and I was trying to make these big things happen with these smoke shop brands, which is not, you know, the energy that the medicine wants to be associated with. So I think, you know, there's a host of other lessons that have come out of that experience, but I think that was the big one that it's like, yeah, you need to really like stop reaching and trying to make things happen. There's already a plan, like you just need to allow that to come to fruition.
Yeah, and watch the ego and that the cash and
yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And you know, like we look at this as like it's sacred commerce to us, you know, like I mean, there's, you know, we obviously need profit to keep things going. So it's a really interesting thing to learn to balance, like, you know, making profit with also you know, doing the medicine justice and living it out how, you know, the mushroom wants to be done. But yeah, so that's and you know, this was the beginning of the real internal dialogue and dialect about like how to manage those things properly. And you know, I'm human. Like it's not something that you know I've got down perfectly by any means, but it's a consistent thing that not only myself but all of us that are involved in this business, you know, think about very regularly.
one of the things I've theorized, and because I don't know if it's true, is that when we stay in our lane of healing, we're protected.
Yeah.
That Spirit has given us protection. You know what I'm saying, Susie? When you stay in that lane, the universe wants to support us. And if we douche.
Well, and
You got a big one. You didn't get a douche. You got
yeah, so that's the thing. Like I think also like the more sacred the mission, the more heavy the blowback is going to be. You know, so like if you step out, and it wasn't a fun experience.
No, and it's interesting. You know, like you were saying, that you're selling the divine. Selling the divine. If there's ever an oxymoron, that's it. You know, and so it's a weird place, and I think all of us have been on that kind of like, I can't, but I have to, kind of a scope with this stuff, you know, all the time. That's important. Thank you for sharing, Christian. Susie, and move the mic over if you would, thanks, and speak into it, thanks.
Hi, everybody. My name is Susie Phillips-Sell. I'm the priestess and founder of the Temple of Eden. We serve Sacramento 5-MeO DMT, and we're based out of Los Angeles, California. We've facilitated and served individually about almost 2,000 people within these past 5 years. And we offer private group ceremonies. We offer facilitation training. We offer training. We take people to the Sonoran Desert to teach them how to ethically harvest the medicine. We offer free community events, free integration, and we also do retreats. And then we also help establish other entheogenic churches. We have an attorney that we work with. So.
Beautiful. And how did you get to the medicine?
Oh, God. So I started my journey at 10 years old. That's when I first tried LSD. And yeah, so that was a couple years. And then when I turned 18, I immediately moved out of my parents' house and wanted to be free, and went on about a 20-year drug binge of just experimenting with cocaine and partying. And then my father died. He was an Army veteran. He accidentally overdosed on Oxycontin. He had severe combat wounds that he was suffering from. It's hard to tell people they have a problem when they actually have pain. Right. And so that was the first catalyst of my spiritual awakening. Is I grew up in the South, and my mother is Korean, and she used to be Buddhist, came to the States, and immediately converted to baptism. So I was in church about 5 days a week, and I used to go to sleep at night thinking that I was gonna burn in the flames of hell, and was really, like, I was real Christian. I was like ready to, tell everybody about Jesus. And so when my father died, that was the first time that I actually was confronted with death, and everybody's saying the normal things like, oh, he's in a better place, like he went to heaven, and you're really thinking like, what is that even real? Like, what is this, And then I went down this journey when my dad died, where I got obsessed with near-death experiences. Started watching all these documentaries. I remember I stayed up 48 hours one time, just watching them, and just was so fascinated about what people were experiencing when they actually died. And then I started wanting to have one myself. I'm glad that didn't happen like that. And then I got into an extremely toxic relationship with a very abusive narcissist. And I thought it was love, and he ended up leaving me for another girl that got pregnant by another man. It's a very Jerry Springer episode. And I thought I could not live without this man, good God. And I wanted to die, and I remember I went on a 90-day drug binge where I was doing cocaine, Xanax. I was driving around inhaling nitrous oxide, passing out at the wheel, fishtailing in traffic. I totaled 2 vehicles within 1 week and was still driving like that. So the third time that I was driving like that, I got pulled over by a police officer. And when they came to my window, there was a camera crew from Live PD to film. Yeah, so it was all over TV Thanksgiving weekend in November of 2016. So it was a public crucifixion, but it was my awakening. When I was in that jail cell, I remember the first thing I was thinking was like, oh my God, I need more Xanax. And then I had a moment where I was like, wait a minute, like, what are you doing? Like, you could have killed somebody. And so I went through cold turkey withdrawal on Xanax. It was one of the most horrible things I've ever experienced. Ended up getting sober, and then relapsed a month later on nitrous oxide, and it was a $1,000 a day habit, and it got so bad where I ended up temporarily damaging my nervous system, where I was paralyzed. I couldn't walk, and that scared the absolute shit out of me. And then I got sober off of that, and then decided that I wanted to experience ayahuasca. I heard about this medicine. Flew out to Peru for 2 weeks, and my first journey with ayahuasca, she asked me to pledge my allegiance to the light, and then she told me that I was moving to LA. And I think it was 2 months later, I moved out here, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends, and I started just going to different ceremonies, trying to make connections, and it wasn't until I met Courtney, and and I was introduced to community. We started our churches together. I started helping out her ceremonies, working with her shaman, learned a lot about ceremony work through there. Still had no intention of serving. Like, I just wanted to volunteer and give back and help people. And then I was introduced to 5-MeO, and that was me getting WWE body slammed. My first journey was basically death. I experienced what death was, and I saw what was after the dissolving of the human experience, and I haven't been the same since. I'm completely dedicated to this molecule. Since then, I started a church, just started helping people, seeing that the community is in so much need of safe facilitators that take safety seriously, and also that have integrity. There's so much harm that you hear about. There's so much, sexual predators, financial predators, So one of the biggest things that taught me about integrity was I was there the day that Brandon Begley died at Soul Quest in ayahuasca. I was there as a participant, and I watched the facilitators panic instead of calling 911. So that's one of the reasons why, I also teach harm reduction seminar for people that are serving medicine. One of the main reasons why people die in entheogenic ceremonies is because of negligence. It's something that could have been prevented just by calling 911. They probably needed an IV or something. So, but other than that.
That's beautiful. And so today, bringing it back to today, big interest in DMT.
Oh yeah.
You're finding that? It's one of the current.
So there's DMT, and then there's 5-methoxy and dimethyltryptamine, which is 5-MeO-DMT. So I get a lot of people that will want to come to my ceremonies because they think that it's DMT, and I have to explain to them the difference in it. If you want to think about it in, energetic wise, like DMT is a very fifth dimensional, very visual. It's a true psychedelic. Okay, you'll see the hallucinations. With 5-MeO, you can get, fractals and white light, but for the most part, it's more of a state of consciousness. You go to this 12th dimensional angelic light plane, God consciousness, and it's a lot more intense. It's probably one of the most powerful entheogens that we know of so far. It's considered the crown jewel of entheogens. And the main thing that people will experience is a dissolution of the ego. I get a lot of people that want to come kill the ego. Let's get rid of the ego because it's so bad. But the thing is that, the ego is part of our human identity. Like, we're not going to get rid of it. You can shift it. So I'm one of these facilitators that believe in having balance with your spirit and your ego. I feel like they can work together. And so you're not going to kill the ego, but you can have a dissolution of your human ego during that journey. And what can happen during that moment is you get a glimpse of what's underneath the human experience. And so out of all of the entheogens, I would say that 5-MeO-DMT has the highest potential for mystical experiences. So we get a lot of atheists interested in this medicine because, a lot of atheists are very scientific-minded people. They need proof. They don't have a mystical bone in their body. So when they come to sit with this medicine, they get a glimpse of what's behind the veil. And so I see a lot of non-believers turning into a believer of a higher power because of this medicine. So Temple of Eden is a church, but we're not forcing God onto people. What we're doing is we're creating a space for people to come experience the divine for themselves through their own perspective. And so there's no comparison, because when you talk about religion, you're reading about someone's secondhand experience about God. When you have an experience with these medicines, you have your own firsthand experience with God. If you're uncomfortable with that word, spirit, the divine, whatever, but it's a very...
You're called the God molecule, right?
Yeah.
That's what 5-MeO is called. Thank you for sharing that. And I think we need this spiritual awakening now so badly. And maybe that's why there's such a surge towards DMT.
Well, what I notice is that when you look at Western culture, it's very yang. It's very masculine. It's very material. And so there's like a huge imbalance in people. And so when we do these medicines, you're bringing that yin, that mother earth, that spirit energy back into the realm. So no matter what you see going on in the news, just know that these medicines are changing things in a drastic way.
We're going to bring up a couple of case studies in this session today. But I love the Mike Tyson story with DMT. He had a lot of problems. He smoked DMT once, hasn't drank or done cocaine since then. He used a lot of mushrooms, I know. Right? That's for sure. Thank you for sharing, Susie. Loretta, would you like to share?
Hi, my name is Loretta. I started life as a clinical psychotherapist in the UK and spent many years studying and running groups and working in lots of different sectors of therapy. And I moved to the States, carried on working, and kind of hit a wall with my own therapeutic journey. I'm like, it doesn't work. I am a therapist, and unless I've really experienced and gone through something myself, I can't hold other people in that space because I'm very experiential. So I was searching for something else. I didn't understand why my profession, why I felt the way I did. And then I got introduced to working with psychedelics from another therapist, from a therapeutic point of view, who had built a very large community And he said, come and see what I do. I get why you're disillusioned with our profession. I was as well, which is why I started working with psychedelics. So I went to one of his journeys. He was running a group, and I was really blown away. And it was the missing piece that I had been looking for. And I'm like, this is where I need to be. And what I realized from just being a psychotherapist, and I work with art in lots of different ways, not just talk therapy, but we're just treating symptoms to a certain point. It can work for some people, and I felt like I was going round and round in circles and just treating symptoms. I'm like, this isn't getting to the core wounding, and that's the place that's going to heal. And I don't want people to sit with me for 12 years in therapy. It means it's not working. That's not my objective, to keep people in the therapeutic space. So I went in deep into studying psychedelics, and then I trained through MAPS and lots of other different modalities and different integration and different therapeutic tools, because it's very different being a facilitator than being a therapist, because I'm not a therapist in that space. And I found the piece that I was looking for, and I kind of went back into therapy, and okay, it does work, it's a tool. All of these things are just a tool. There isn't one thing that's going to cure us, we're going to cure ourselves. But it's finding the right medicine, whatever that is. So for me, MDMA and psilocybin journeys were that piece, and it filled my toolbox. So I facilitate and I work with medicine I've run a lot of groups and retreats, and now I find myself being pulled very much into private client work, doing a lot of one-on-one work. And it's that deep dive that goes beyond the conscious mind. So when I speak to people that haven't done it before, it's like a walk into the unconscious that you can't think your way into. So for me, I've seen it saves people's lives, it changes people's lives, it transforms people's lives, and I'm deeply invested in my work.
I had a call with Loretta after she came back from one of her trips, and she was so excited about the breakthrough that she had. That's all she wanted to talk about. and I was like, that's what it's about. I mean, I could feel your joy, and you were lit up like a light. And it was all about what happened with that guy that you had done a session with I think it was in Florida. Yeah, and I just want to acknowledge that dedication. And that's everybody on the panel here, really. They're vetted. And so psychedelics have traditionally been spiritual tools, for the most part. Physical to some degree with some plant medicines. So now, in our culture today, we've done something that historically, 10,000 years, has never been done, and that's put psychedelics into a medical container. Does it fit? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like here's this, I'm seeing God thing, and now, does it fit? Because we don't have a big history of it. It's like just the last, 30 years, 40 years.
I think the results speak for themselves, and the studies speak for themselves. And I think in the next, 5-10 years, therapy shouldn't be able to exist without the use of psychedelics, because you can only go so far. So we're limited.
And where do you find, when you work with a client, where do you find most of the time? I've heard it said preparation and post.
Yeah.
Is that true, or is there an involvement at the ceremony from a psychotherapy person?
So I worked in psychiatry early on in my profession, and I saw a lot. And so safety is absolutely paramount. And I've been in unsafe settings myself when I was training, and which was a gift, because it's good to see the things that don't work and the things that do work, so that you can work in a safe, integral way. And I know the panel before, you were talking about integrity and safety, and it's absolutely paramount. So there's somebody for everyone. There's a panel here of different people with different expertise, and I would always direct people to the right person. And so doing a very thorough assessment to start with is really important for me, especially when I'm working one-on-one. I want to know what somebody's experience is, what their mental health is. Because there's places for people to go that are safer, and so I will work with not everything. Because I don't want to. I want to keep people safe. So the check-in is really important. Intention, really, really important. Why are you doing it? What do you hope to achieve from it? And then my job as a facilitator is to get the hell out of the way. Is not to sit there and get into somebody else's experience, because it's their experience, it's not mine. But it's to be able to hold them safely. So I've done a lot of work with complex trauma, and I can read the room. So when something's coming up, hopefully I can work with it. I haven't had something I can't. And then after, it's integration. So as you say, it's the fun part. The journey is the fun part. The integration, what you do with it, is up to you, because the journey is assigning you the homework. If you do the homework, you're good. If you don't, and you're just chasing the medicine, it's not really going to do anything. So it's why do you want to do it? And there's recreational party type settings for doing this. Great, whatever works for you. But from my perspective, I'm doing it from a therapeutic healing point of view. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll have some questions for you as we move on. Next, I'd like to ask a dear friend of mine, and she does incredible work, Jazz, to share a little bit about your history. How did you get involved with psychedelics?
I started studying alternative medicine and healing since I was a teenager, so I always felt called to sacred plants, and I've been diving deep since then. It didn't show up later on in life, though, and I started in the cannabis industry probably about 17 years ago. I started as a grower and then progressed from there, but it wasn't until a huge catalyst, right? The little one, as you know, my little one, her father died, and that's when prior to that, I had gotten into combo, I had tried all these things to get him off of heroin, and I learned to detox people from heroin using vitamin C, and started using advanced methods from there. So with addiction and my family as well, it started to show up, and then so I had friends that I knew that were serving Iboga, and I gave them a call, and the medicine started speaking to me right away. This Iboga reminded me how to work with the spirit of the plant. It started to speak with me. It started to show me things, even before I ever took the medicine. So it's been a guide. Just I think past life stuff, it comes through, right? But yeah, from that experience, I was able to help a lot of others. So ultimately, it was a catalyst for for something bigger.
And Iboga right now is the it girl in psychedelics. It's really,
I would say it. Man,
yeah, I know. I said when I'm saying that. Yeah, it doesn't.
If those of you that have done Iboga or microdosed it, know
Has
that
anybody done Iboga here?
It's a masculine energy.
Just a couple.
Yeah.
And why is it so popular now? What is it?
Well, we're in an epidemic of addiction. There's people that are dropping like flies, fentanyl things going through the roof. PTSD, trauma, advanced PTSD, advanced trauma. We're, discovering things about the traumatic brain injuries, from football players and, and also from, veterans. We're seeing a lot of this stuff, that they need advanced therapies because, some of the other traditional therapies, they're not working, and I get some of the worst cases on the planet that get turned away from a lot of other institutions because they're you need a higher level of care, and I was a higher level of care for them, so it takes a unique skill set to be able to deal with certain personality types and certain brain injuries, and and I happen to have life experience with that, and just kind of it fell upon me, and I didn't seek it out. I just saw answers to problems that were in front of me, and that's how it showed up for me.
Jazz is the good witch. That's what I call her. She brews them She makes the potions,
Yeah.
and they work. And I know how dedicated you are to the work, and
Thank you.
appreciate it. Iboga does miracles. You know, it detoxes the entire body. It was 48 hours or 24 hours? Or?
Yeah, about 24 hours. But yeah, it can totally bypass withdrawal symptoms. It doesn't, however, it's not going to bypass alcohol or benzo withdrawal. You have to taper. You know, each case is unique and different. So, like, we have to know the history of what you're going through and also medical history as well, because it is one of the more riskier of the plant medicine world,
Because of heart issues, right?
Yeah. You can greatly reduce risks if you preload magnesium and take potassium, but we need a medical screening prior. We need to check your liver prior as well if you've had a lot of drug use, or if you're missing a gallbladder and you have there's more, your liver has a higher load, right? I've had instances where, so I'll have to adjust the medicine accordingly. But yeah, medical history is extremely important in this case.
And it's on fast track now. I know it was 17, but I think, is it up to 34? I don't know if anybody has the stat on it. States have legalized research on Iboga.
Oh, it's a lot. I don't know the
They're
total
coming in.
headcount.
They're coming in now because it's so effective in dealing with the issues with first responders.
Yeah.
Traumatized in war and horrible things and traumatic brain injury. So I have two little quips that kind of came in the last couple of weeks, and I just wanted to let them share a little bit about Iboga and their experience, just for a minute or two, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. And Charnel is one of them. So why don't you come up here and you could use this.
Hey.
Just 2 minutes.
Yep. So I'm a naturopathic doctor, and I've worked with plant medicine since 2008. I've been to 54 countries, looking at trees and frankincense and all this stuff, Oman and Croatia for helichrysum and different places like that, looking at plant medicine in a different way than more distilling with essential oils. And I felt that call through a crisis, a bad thing too. But a couple years ago, I had my own thing that happened. We had 6 deaths in 2 years. In 2 weeks. And they were all close family members, not in one big plane accident or anything, all different crazy things, a drunk driver, my grandmother, my mother-in-law that I've known since 17, my dog, which I know is like not a big deal, but it's like my soul dog that had more clock time with me than my children and my husband combined. So I was not doing well. And I kept trying to push through like I do in the past with everything, and had patience and whatever, but and so I started talking to this lady who told me about Iboga and Iboga, and she sent me a video about it with Joe Rogan and blah, 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 and I thought she was telling me about this because I was at a point where I didn't want to do naturopathic anymore. I was a speaker and podcast host, and had written books on research and everything, and I just didn't want to do anything. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do to make money, because I just couldn't figure out what to do. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't take a shower. It was rough. And so when I got the video, she was like, did you watch it? And I was like, no. And I'm like, are you thinking I'm going to do this as my next job? And she's like, I don't know, I just felt divinely led to send this to you. And I'm like, so I watch it, and I'm hearing all this stuff with God and the different things. I don't know if you've seen the podcast, but I was sitting there, and then I was like, oh, she thinks I'm supposed to do this, Mm-hmm. And I have a similar background with ministry. I'm from Montana, but I moved to Louisiana with my husband. And so we did the whole ministry thing for 20 years of, itinerant speaking, and so psychedelics wasn't really in my, psyche for trying things like that, but plants were, and I'm like, well, this is just a plant, so why not, right? So I didn't know this calling thing that you guys keep talking about. They're all saying this now, but I literally had so many synchronicities that kept going, just go, go, go. And I didn't want to research too much because I didn't want to know, I didn't want to have like this expectation that like if I didn't see an angel or something, I would be disappointed. So I just didn't do too much research. I went in and I actually found out about it on 9/21, which is my grandfather's birthday. And then I found out later they call it the grandfather. And my grandfather and I were very, very close. And so here I am about to do this session, which goes against every block in my brain because of the whole church thing. And I'm like, fuck it, I don't care, I'm doing it. Because I just, what have I got to lose? Everything else is fucked up, right? So I go in and I do this, and it's just, it was the most, very tough, not gonna fucking lie. Physically tough. But mentally and spiritually, I can't, like my whole life has changed. And I felt, there were very specific messages given to me, like you cannot ignore like what was told to me during the session. I heard the voice of God with very direct information, and as I saw my whole life, I now know why the science of that happens. The whole gate that opens to your memories. You're not seeing psychedelics like mushrooms, which I've done all that. It's not like you're seeing all this stuff that's not real or a different dimension. You're seeing your whole life. Every memory taps into your memory bank, and you see every memory you've ever had, like instantly all at once. And so it was a little overwhelming, but I had all these zooms of different things that came in, and on the back end, when I came out, I kind of went through the flu stuff for a minute, and I just started writing everything down, and I had actually written everything down at the beginning, because if I had told anyone, I was like, well, these are all the reasons why. I had to like, somehow my ego needed to prove like I was doing the right thing or something. But my first meal after I got over the 2 days of whatever, I had this thought in my mind. I was about to eat Chinese food, and I had this little thought that said, am I going to tell anybody about this? Because like, what am I going to do, call pastor and be like, I fucking did it, right? So I had this little thought, am I going to tell anyone about this? And as soon as I'm doing this as I'm opening up a fortune cookie, not relating anything, and I open it up and it says, do not be afraid to share your experience with the world. And I was like, so I started writing, and I had 222 pages in like 48 hours. I started pulling in all the science because I'm a geek and a data person, so I had all the BDNF and the GDNF and the neurotransmitters.
I don't want to skip too much,
Yeah.
and I think there'll be questions, but
What's different?
so what? Yeah,
What's
right
different is
now.
I got on my phone to pay a bank. Like the first thing I remembered, I had to pay a bill, and none of my apps would work. My whole face was so changed, my eyes were changed, that I had to reprogram my whole phone to every app I had.
Wow.
The space between the grief, it's like I know it's there, but I'm not immersed and drowning in it. It's like I can observe and not absorb. I have zero fucks about pretty much everything. Like someone vandalized our house with like $60,000 worth of really bad shit, and I was just like, okay, we'll figure this out. And it's just been one step at a time. Normal me, I would have like locked myself in a closet, and it might have been the thing that took everything over. I literally cleaned my entire house, which I haven't been able to do stuff. I took like 23 bags of garbage out to either the trash or Goodwill. My shoulder was frozen and it got unfrozen. There's a lot of physical things that have happened. I'm happy, I can do shit. I wrote 3 books. I'm working on 2. I wrote 2 books, they're finished. And I have 3 more that I'm doing. Like everything that was on the list is like crossed off.
Wow.
And I have like 15 other things I'm working on simultaneously. My brain is back online. My memory is better, although I did fucking lose my glasses earlier today, and I'm like, but I was walking around trying to find my glasses, and I found another pair of glasses, and I'm like, the universe is so cool, because now I can just use these. But, and the biggest thing is I met you, and like the medicine just keeps bringing me all these people, and this is the fucking thing I'm doing now. Like, this is the thing I'm doing. brother-in-law is special forces and was out for TBI. And he's actually back in. How do you fucking get out and get back in with TBI? But and my dad did 21 years, so I want people who have addictions and vets, and I'm going to be the person, and I'm working with jazz, and I'm going to be a facilitator, and I'm going to do this. Like, this is my thing, so I love you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, it's the ultimate cord cutter for a reason. You know, Iboga's the king when it comes to that. You know, it cuts things out of your life that doesn't serve you. So what's left is your original soul blueprint. So you can really show up in the world and came here to do exactly what you came here to do.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you. One more little share. Again, they just popped up this week, and I get so inspired by these stories. I just can't hear them enough. And Artie's a new best friend. So Artie, why don't you come up and share a little bit, again, real short, because we've got a bunch of stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, so I'm an attorney. I know I look like one, right? And you know, what's crazy is I turned 40 4 days ago. And I realized, I don't remember a lot of shit from the last few years, but I do remember last year, on this very day, my dad, who's back there filming me now, talking about this shit, which is insane, came and searched every hotel in Beverly Hills until he found me in a hotel room, bleeding from the nose with multiple people, and having not showed up at work, not answered the phone, not able to even get up and charge my fucking phone. And soon thereafter, at my father's wellness conference in Dallas, I tried to get some blow in the lobby of Hilton Plano, which is a really bad idea. And it was laced with fentanyl. Now, I'm 220 pounds. I went up to the hotel, to my room, and I'd been in Dallas for 2 days. I've been addicted to cocaine really badly since I turned 30. So it was about 10 years. And it went from once a week to twice a week to 3 times a week to every day that I wasn't suffering, recovering for 24 hours. And at my dad's wellness conference, I OD'd in the Hilton Plano. The fucking hotel manager had to call him and say, hey, your son is in an ambulance. And he had an event for 1,000 people the next morning. And that wasn't enough to stop me. I came back, I did the bullshit rehabs, that's the biggest scam in fucking America. And I was in and out of 4 or 5 of them. They could care less. 3 of them I escaped, they didn't even call anybody. And I soon thereafter tried a new drug from Colombia, which was wonderful for all of 5 minutes, called Tusi. And then I OD'd again because it also had fentanyl. This time I was intubated, and for 4 days, my best friend, my dad, my whole family, they didn't know if I'm gonna wake up. Like, Kaiser was a shit show because people were freaking out, like, what the fuck are you talking about? And keep in mind that I'm a pretty successful attorney. I've been the lawyer for the Clippers, for the Chargers, for the Galaxy, for UCLA's football and basketball team, and I'm currently the attorney sponsor of the DMV in Southern California. So if you go to the DMV, you'll probably see me. And you'll be like, fuck, that guy OD'd on coke. But flash forward, the point is, everyone was at their wit's end with me, including myself. I didn't even want to fucking do the coke. That's how bad it had me sucked in. You know about that. So, man, what happened was, my dad talked to my best friend, and my best friend, he does really, really deep meditations. And in the meditation, he said that he saw the only way that I was going to get better was plant-based therapy. Now keep in mind, my dad is in the wellness sector. Like, my parents are very old school. Like, weed to them is heroin, okay? So the fact that my parents took me to Mexico, who, by the way, the woman who saved my life is here in the back too, Jennifer, thank you so much. And I didn't even know where I was. I said to my dad, when are we getting to Vegas? And so they take me to this clinic, and I have no recollection the first day. And I'll give you an idea of the cocktail that I was on that was so hard to get over. It was do cocaine to work 8 hours in 3 using the coke, smoke weed to eat 1 meal, take a Xanax to come extra down so that when I do coke again, it'll be extra good. Then I would take a 10 milligram Norco because my body hurts because I'm fucking 40. And then I would take ketamine to be able to sleep. And I don't know how I survived that for 2 years straight. So when I got to that clinic, I am not joking. I'd been through 2 ODs, one that nearly took my life. I destroyed my dad's Honda. That really was a hit and run. I'll get into that in 1 second. But the point is, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, for real, not. And the way that they found me in the last hotel was my dog, who's 16 years old. He was crying and scratching the door so loud, and he knew something was wrong with me, that the maids found me. It took 6 Narcan to keep me alive. So I'm not supposed to be here. And when I got to that clinic, I didn't even know where I was. And the miraculous thing about Iboga and Ibogaine is that it took 10 days. Like, people are still in shock in this fucking city that I'm back. Because first of all, I'm coming for blood, and with a vengeance. Because so many people wrote me off and jumped ship. When the going was good, everyone was there. And it's so quick, people will leave your side when the money's not being thrown around, right? I saw who are the people in my life that love me for me, and who are the people that just love Uncle Artie moneybags. And so flash forward, it took 7 days for Jennifer to clear I lit that fucking drug test up like a Christmas tree, okay? Like, I don't think there was one panel that they didn't have, right? And yeah, we kept it, you know? And in 7 days, they had detoxed me to where the only thing positive was THC, which is okay with the other plant-based therapy. So I did what's called the hero's dose, or the maximum that I think a human can ingest in 24 hours, and actually a little bit over, because, you know, it's so touch and go, this thing. It's not, everyone always says, what is Ibogaine? How do you do it? It doesn't work like that. Everybody is different, not only objectively because of weight and height and all that, but undiagnosed heart issues, different, if you've drank a lot and your liver's fucked, like, there's so many things that go into it. So first of all, you really got to be in a safe space, like with this young lady, or with someone who knows people that have done it, because, you know, and me and you talked about this. It's like, once you've gone through this, you feel like you're in this tribe. Like, you know, like I already felt you, like, before I knew. Because it is the hardest thing that I ever did in my life. It was harder than the bar exam 100 times over. Like, I thought I was going to die in there. I didn't think I'm going to get out at first. That's how far you are in another plane, right? And thank God you went before me, because I'm like, fuck, everyone's going to think I'm crazy. But really, you see the universe, man. And, like, I was not Christian, okay? Like, the last thing anyone would think is Artie's going to come in here and say Jesus Christ is the Son of God, right? But I saw it, right? And maybe for someone else it's different, whatever God you want to call it. But I was never connected on that level. I would never be here on a Monday at 1 p.m., you know, with my 50 employees running amok in the office, and me sitting here telling you guys, you have to try this if you have someone at risk. That's really why I'm here. And then it's also what you guys said, how, God, I can't believe the medicine talked to me and made me want to go and bring other people to it. I don't have time for this shit, but I cannot not do it. It's crazy. So what I've started to do is I've been taking 1 to 3 people to Mexico every Wednesday and taking them to this clinic, sometimes sequestered against their will, because this is for the people that are at their worst. Like, I'm telling you guys right now, if you care about someone, if you're here because you're worried about someone, if there's someone with any kind of drug addiction, sex addiction, gambling addiction, anything, and extreme anxiety, PTSD, all of these things can be cured in 10 to 12 days. And it sounds insane, but it's so real, man. It's realer than anything I've ever done. So I pledged to help facilitate this. Now, I know if we've heard about what's happening in Mexico, people are a little bit scared. So, we're going to figure out other ways to do it. But whether it's me or this young lady or Paul or whoever, if you are worried about anybody, if there's anyone that needs help, you can come talk to any of us, because this is the solution. I never thought in my life on my 40th birthday on the Monday I'd be here talking to you guys and I wouldn't be recovering from an 8-ball and a lot of fun, but bad fun, evil fun. Oh, and that's the last thing I'll say. What I saw, and to be honest, I wouldn't share it. I was even told by my shaman not to share too many specifics about what the universe showed me. Thank the gods, by the way, plural. But we are in a fight, in an ancient battle of good and evil. And I can feel this room, and I can feel how much good is in here, so I feel comfortable saying it. But I bet you there is a fucking rat or two in here too, taking notes. Okay? All right, get out. So, but remember, we are in this ancient battle, and they really wanted me on the other side, man. And I fought my way out. I fought my fucking way out. The Artie that was 2 years ago and a year ago was not me. It was someone else. And this evil works in mysterious ways. It's like the homie from Minnesota said. As soon as he starts helping everybody, look what happened. They fucking raided him. I wonder how. This is it. The evil doesn't have to be a physical devil or whatever people think it is. It works in mysterious ways through mysterious agents. As soon as he's helping people, boom, tried to take him down. And guess what that could do if he had anxiety issues? Cause him to relapse. Cause him to stop helping all these people. Same thing with me. Last Sunday, I was in a jail in the border for 6 hours because these dumb fucks found the Iboga and they tested it for 6 hours and didn't know what it was. They gave it back to me.
You don't have a test.
And I walked out of there like this. I swear to God, I have the fine to prove it. Because they also found some weed. But, and that's what set it off. And I said, how ridiculous is this? We live in a state where it's legal, where an 18-year-old can buy it, and where 20 federales held me up for 6 hours for weed and handed me back the Schedule 1 psychedelic that's saving lives.
Right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank Artie. Thank you so much. So much. What a beautiful.
You need your own show. You definitely need your own show.
We need an Iboga podcast. That was beautiful, yeah. And that's that, when we fall in love with the psychedelic, remember when you fell in love with a partner, that excitement and that, wow, I can't believe it, I found you. And
It's like me and you.
Yeah, it was jamming. We were jamming in like 30. Yeah, your dad, I know. Get out of here. All right, what's happening?
And actually, one last thing I'll tell you, the synchronicity. Every day since I woke up and the first thing I did, oh my God, I'm going to trip the fuck out. I woke up at 9:27 from my Iboga trip of 30 hours where I was reborn. It took my mom 30 hours to give me birth. My Iboga trip was 30 hours on the fucking dot. Okay? Since that day, every day, I've seen the number 27, which is my favorite number, And I've seen it every day guiding me and telling me every day I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
Okay? And when I walked into this room, the first thing he did was look at his watch and say, "We'll be back at 11:27." And now it's 12:27.
I love that.
But how you said that you know, the synchronicities show you that you're
Yeah.
on the right path, and it's really true. And forget about everything, for the sake of just not wanting to lose my synchronicity with the universe, I don't want to do a line of cocaine, you know?
Yeah. It goes away.
Yeah.
Goes away. I have no desire.
It's
I never-
12:27, man.
Yeah, right. I love that. Yeah, Ibogaine is, there's been nothing like it. There's some psychedelics have a lot of similarities, but with Ibogaine, it's its own thing.
It works on multiple pathways at once. You know, it's unique to itself. It's the strongest. It's the king of all. Bufo is 7 times stronger than normal DMT, and they work synergistically together. Not during the same ceremony, but once you've recovered from your Iboga, Bufo works really great. They pair really well.
They
as,
work
like
together.
Ultimate mind, spirit,
Reset.
body connection. Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody's curious about Iboga, Insight has some Iboga microdose, which is not that.
It's great to create a relationship with the medicine, and like it in a smaller dose, it acts like a nootropic, so it keeps you clear and focused. Yeah, it's really energizing too. So I would take it like first thing in the morning, you know. So it can be stimulating for some people. So if you're easily stimulated, I would do start with like a half dose.
Half a gram.
Yeah, for somebody who's easily stimulated.
Yeah, we would start with 1 cap, and then you can do 2. Microdosing Iboga is very energizing. It's very dewy, so you want to do things. It's not overpowering, and it's not intoxicating.
If you're intentional too, it can also help with like minor addictions, some people want to give up coffee, or like it can be helpful if you're, want to smoke less weed or cigarettes. And
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I was gonna say,
I-
too. I
I-
forgot, I don't drink at all anymore, or drink coffee, and I didn't go in there for that. Like, I
Yeah,
can't even
it
smoke
just
a
falls
cigarette.
away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't smoke
It's
cigarettes,
gone.
but I
Like,
wanted
can't
to.
even drink at all.
You don't want to. Yeah,
That's usually what they're doing
I know, I was like, what
at
the fuck?
rehabs, right? They
Yeah.
replace one thing with another, right? Yeah.
that's the way they do it. That's the racket. Yeah, but I would encourage you to get in touch. The microdose will connect you to the spirit, though.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's just not overpowering and not revolutionary like the full flood dose. And kind of enters onto the microdose topic. Right now, there is an absolute incredible rush towards microdosing because for a number of reasons. One is the anxiety, depression, OCD, PTSD that so many people are suffering from. And microdosing has been proven to provide lasting relief. Now here's an interesting thing. I'm going to ask our next panelist to talk a little bit to this, but here's the interesting thing about microdosing that I find personally. We know it works. How many here microdose? Wow, most of the room, yeah. Because it works. Yeah, right? And there's never been a study. There's never been a study on it. And that's why community research is so important. That's why I keep saying when you have questions, don't go to Google, go to these guys. You'll get the answer. And to that point, it's become very popular. And we have one of our sponsors and colleagues and partners, Insight, which a lot of you know the product line of high integrity, pure stuff. You guys, and they're sponsors of our events, and we're grateful for Insight in many ways.
Thank you. Yeah.
This is my good buddy, Kyle.
My name's Kyle.
Yeah, why don't you, a little bit of your background.
So I got into psychedelics and drugs really young. My family are all drug users, and most of them are still on drugs right now. Mainly cocaine, meth, or fentanyl. But so I did that from the time I was around 12 to 22. I got my wife pregnant at that time, and then that's kind of what made me want to start quitting to use drugs, but I grew cannabis at that time, and I really focused on turning that into a business and got pretty successful at that. And then once cannabis went legal, our medical dispensary had to shut down, so a bunch of stuff went wrong for me basically, and I had to like redo everything in my life. I got into microdosing mushrooms, and since I was a cannabis grower, I just decided to start growing mushrooms, and I was really good at that, and I saw that I was helping people out with that, getting them help with getting off of SSRIs, help with depression, PTSD, all types of things. And so from there, I kind of just kept going deeper into psychedelics, went from mushrooms into seeing how LSD could work for me, because I have ADHD, and mushrooms kind of brought me down whenever I was doing them. So I got into LSD microdosing, which is a little bit more energetic and more clear-headed and can help you focus and really get driven. So that kind of gave me the ability to keep doing what I was doing. For fun, I started extracting DMT just because I like doing extractions. Mm-hmm. And I never was able to break through until one time I just threw a whole container onto a bowl, and I finally was able to break through. And I saw this amazing, crazy fractalized elephant that was telling me to start a company and to get into this space, and it's hard to explain. But yeah, it told me that I need to do this and that I have the power to give people a chance to heal. And I had no idea what that meant, because it wasn't until about 3 years later that I actually started a psychedelic company, and I actually named that one Fractal Elephant. And from there, I met Paul a couple years later, and then Insight was born through there, because I didn't understand that there was healing powers of psychedelics until I started learning more about it and getting involved in the community.
And Insight has a unique delivery system. Talk a little bit about the idea of dosing. That we started talking about that.
Yeah, because dosing is so important and it's different for everybody. You know, my microdose can be her macrodose. So
It usually is. 'Cause
yeah.
He's got a high tolerance. I gotta.
That's true.
The more medicine I've done, the more sensitive I've gotten. So like, we're on the polar opposite of this spectrum.
Yeah, my microdose usually is more of a macrodose for people, or closer to at least a moderate dose. So everybody is different, and to that, Insight, we specialize in sprays, and they're really low dose microdoses so that you can truly microdose. But you can also go up to a medium dose or a full dose, and it allows you to kind of build that relationship with the medicine for people that do want to go deep. And then if you don't ever want to go deep, if you do just get the benefits from microdosing, you can just stick to that regimen as well.
What do you have in terms of a spray? What do you find people are kind of going to now more than ever?
I feel like the most popular sprays right now are LSD and SAS, or MDA.
MDA,
Yeah.
and the
Really
MDMA,
popular, and MDMA.
2CB too.
and the combination.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, 2CB is also getting really popular.
Doesn't pull on the. It's more gentle on the receptors, so like you can take it more often. And it's like the most anti-inflammatory of all the psychedelics. I
And
don't
that's
know.
2CB.
I don't know why though, but it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, and that's not 2C, the pink stuff you were
Yeah.
talking about. 2CB.
Yeah, it's
2CB is a mescaline analog.
2CB. Just a little education is an analog designed by Alexander Shulgin, who didn't synthesize and discover MDMA, but he was one of the ones who brought it to the modern age. They say he resynthesized it. I don't know what that means, but and 2CB has a very similar effect. He was pretty successful, in my opinion. It's a short-lived psychedelic, so it only lasts about 3 or 4 hours, and it doesn't interact with SSRIs. Anybody here on SSRIs? Nobody? Wow!
Yeah.
Oh, wow! Woo! That's a rarity for me.
It's the first time.
Yeah, I think it's the first time. Yeah, wow. This is a special day. So if you're working with some of your facilitators, if you're working with people that want to have a psychedelic experience but have the problem with SSRIs, 2CB is really the answer for that.
You don't get hungover the next day too.
Yeah.
You feel fine.
Yeah, you skip the hangover. It's not like MDMA where it can leave you feeling down the next day. So a lot of people really enjoy that.
It's a very social. One of the things that I would mention is the fact that people have put down this word recreation. I smoke recreationally. The origin of the word comes from the Greek. It means to recreate connection to the soul. And so it's one of those words that's been damaged through misuse, and now, recreation, you're fucking with it, But the origin of the word was to reconnect. So somebody said, like, what do you do for fun? I hike, reconnection to the soul. I've met a lot of people, I hunt, and I hate hunting, but, they're connecting to something that's not work-driven, goal-oriented. And so we believe that's an important part of healing. Where's my friend who came up?
When I mentioned about TCB, it's 10 times stronger than MDMA or MDA. So it's the only
The dosage is a lot smaller. The dosage is a lot.
Yeah, dosage on. It's
Yeah.
a small dose. We say start with 5 milligrams,
Yeah.
and as a base, and then people will orient from there. That's just perceptible level, but yeah, it's very low dose.
Our spray only delivers 1 milligram per spray, so it's really easy to manage.
I've just seen a lot of people take the same, 150, 200 milligrams.
Oh my
Yeah,
God!
that's a
Oh
lot.
my.
That's a lot.
Yeah, 20 or 25 is kind of hero that we find, and we use it in ceremonies, and it's a great addition.
Yeah, you would get it. That's Kyle's microdose.
So yeah, that's right. No, I've seen this guy consume psychedelics. I'm pretty good, but he's my hero.
They're fun.
They're fun. And part of it was just, I think, part of your history with meth and all that stuff may have
Damaged receptors or
So
something.
in a case like that, then Iboga would be good to help the receptors to come back. So I have people that have even been off of heroin, fentanyl, and all those things for like 10, 20 years, and they'll have like recurring dreams. So, they still want a receptor reset, because the dopamine, it's like hard to restore those receptors unless you're actively going after it. But Iboga, even years later, will still help the receptors, So in a case like this, it could help his tolerance. So like I have people, we do with MDMA therapy, people that have been long-term addicts, sometimes they couldn't feel these things at first until post-Iboga and Bufo, they were able to start feeling the heart medicine again, So like in cases like that where they're, they've been out of addiction for even a long time.
So Kyle needs Iboga.
Yeah. We've been talking about it for a minute.
Oh, yeah?
You're right, yeah.
That's where it begins.
I was like, we just need to do it to reset your tolerance at this point. You know what I mean? Doesn't have any addictions, Yeah.
So somebody walks up to Insight and they say, I can do Iboga microdose, I can do grandfather or San Pedro microdose, or I can do LSD spray. What do you say to them? Because sometimes people struggle with that.
Well, usually what we'll do is ask them what type of experience they're looking to get out of it, because that's really what's going to guide them towards what substance you're going to want to use.
Right.
Some people are looking for energy, some people want to be emotional or reconnected to the spirit, so it really depends on what you're looking for.
And that will direct you?
That will direct
What do you find, like with, let's say, San Pedro? Where would you direct people more to that as opposed to, let's say, LSD?
For San Pedro, it's usually more grounding. LSD is really more electric and live, so somebody that wanted to get through the day and needed energy or something like that, I would guide them towards LSD. If they wanted to be grounded or more connected to themselves and nature, I would definitely send them towards San Pedro.
Grandfather, yeah.
So it just depends on, like I said, what experience they're looking to get out of it.
Setting your intention. And we teach a lot of microdosing courses every month, probably 3 to 5, sometimes more. And one of the things that seems to be, to me, is one of the important parts to it, is getting on that regimen of regular use. Because what you're doing is recreating neural pathways with microdose. So it's like growing a bush You can't just water it once. You don't give it nutrients once. You give it, it's a periodic regimen of water and nutrients and sun, shade, whatever the case may be. So by doing the microdose, you're actually giving it time to get these new connections. This is amazing, isn't it though? I mean, actual physical new neural pathways are being created. You don't get that from the awakening experience or even these incredibly life-changing Iboga experiences. Now we have to start taking care of some damaged goods. And some of it's not necessarily drugs, it's thinking. It's patterns that are so embedded, what we call the default mode network. It's that thing that you can't stop. When she says that, I get that. When somebody tries to tell me I can't do something, I just react. Those are defaults, so those are ingrained patterns, right? Those are ingrained patterns that you've been doing forever. So it's not going to happen in just an awakening experience. That's going to be the, oh, I see it, now I need my medicine to keep connecting to that, to create the neural pathways physically for me to connect to this new way of living that doesn't have anxiety, depression, and so on. So I think that's why it's 11 million people did it last year. And we always say everything begins with safety, Kyle, and you're a fetish about lab testing and so on.
Yeah, all of our products are lab tested. We won't take them if they don't meet our standards. The mushrooms are all tested for contamination, mold, and potency as well.
Mm-hmm. And wherever you get them, know where you're getting from, the lineage. I love what you said, Christian, about it wasn't so much that the mushrooms were impotent. You didn't want to touch them after it was in the police station, and these energetic things affected. We know that set and setting have a huge effect on the experience. And we had one thing at Psychedelic Institute, and that's surrender. Set, setting, and surrender. And I've been monitoring this stuff for over 50 years, and I've seen every bad experience did not give respect to either set, setting, or surrender. Every single one was, it's so simple, isn't it? Come on, it's so easy. Show respect, set, mindset going in, setting where you're taking it, and let go. Let go. And so simple to have an incredible experience, right, Artie? I mean, that's what it takes. And we can all deliver that. So I want to open it up now to questions. We've got great experts up here. So on any of the topics, current use, yeah, way in the back.
I have a question about energy. After you take it, normally I would get exhausted.
And which medicine?
I did the mushrooms.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I took too many, I don't know. But for 48 hours I was up and doing everything and having so much fun and couldn't go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Once that passed, then I was exhausted for 2 days.
I've never heard that story. Mushrooms last 4 to 6 hours. Even if I did a ceremony with a woman. She ate 24 grams of mushrooms in front of me, my mushrooms, and it lasted 4 to 6 hours. That's the weird thing. So you're sharing something that I think there were other influences in there, and we don't have time to go into them, but the actual lifespan, half-life of psilocybin is really not that long. And again, whether you did a micro or a macro or 24 grams, that's what blew my mind. I thought I'd have to be with her like all night.
Yeah.
She went to sleep right on time. And I was like, thank God. She was in another place. Well, she had come to me, she said, I did acid, I didn't feel it. I smoked DMT, I didn't feel it. And I'm like, come on over. Daddy'll take care of you. So we did 5 grams, which to me is a nice dose. That's called a hero dose. And we go down to the beach, and she turns to me and she goes, I don't feel it. And I'm tripping my brains out, right? So I said, let's go back to the house. I lived at the Manhattan Beach at the time. And I said, here's 5 bars with 5 grams in each bar, and she got so sick on the chocolate. She was puking her guts up from the chocolate the next day. But she ate 24 of those 25 grams. And then she got off. She had this terrible expression,
Can I
but
just add something?
yeah.
I would say that if you had an experience like that, mushrooms are master teachers. They go into the experience, why you depleted, what's going on in your body, because there's messages there.
Yeah.
So it's work with, that doesn't like concern me so much that you had a big wipeout after, because you can do, but it's, you know, what are you eating? How are you moving?
Right.
Is there inflammation? It's like really listen to what happened to you after, because that's where the wisdom is, and that's the integration part. Why it's so important to do this.
To look at that, yeah.
You know, because you'll get answers from it.
There's
But I'd
also,
be curious.
Yeah,
to know
you may have
what
drunk.
you-
She may have drank a lot of coffee even to do that.
You know,
You know,
did you eat? Did you drink? But it's important to know, like, what was the dosage? What were the mushrooms? Where
Right.
are they from? How
Right.
they grow? There's
Right.
so many components to that.
It can go the other way too. Like when I usually after Iboga and after a hero dose like I did, like you're out for days. And I opened the door and the nurse screamed so loud because she was like, this guy's walking like 3 hours after I came back to Earth. So I feel like it really, there's no one's gonna be able to
No.
give you a scientific, objective answer.
no, it's interesting,
Maybe
but
you needed it, the rest.
yeah, but
Exactly, and that's what when I say the body's talking to you, listen to what it's talking. If it's wiped you out, rest.
that's why they say a bad trip, which is not in your case, but a bad trip is always the best trip.
Absolutely.
And we've heard that, yes? We've heard that a million times. The one that was uncomfortable, if you do what Loretta said, was not just, oh, I was uncomfortable or this happened or whatever, but actually look at it and go back and start, that's where all the messages are that she's referring to. But not just, it's what were you trying to teach me that day? You know,
It
what
didn't take 2 hours to come on.
yeah, well, again, we have, there's a
are you
lot.
on any GLPs?
No.
Because we're noticing that people on GLPs, because it slows gastric emptying, it will like onset later and then also last longer.
Mhm.
So like, just keep that in mind if anybody is on any of the GLPs.
All right, great, let's get some more, yeah, in the back.
Yes, my question is, I used to meditate a lot, and so without any drugs at all, I've had out-of-body experience, like full-blown out-of-body, and I've also seen a full-blown aura for like 10 minutes, and I've seen a manifestation of a leopard head appear in front of me, all with no drugs. So naturally, I've done a little bit when I was younger, LSD when I was like a teenager, many years ago. So my question is, again, I'm trying to get back into psychedelics. I've been microdosing for about a year, and I've been just small amounts. So my question is, those experiences that I had with 0 drugs, the psychedelics, is it the same? Do they produce the same experience, or is it like?
It depends. So it moves you past the mental body. So this is where we usually get stuck. So you can get past it through meditation, but with psychedelics, you're moving straight past it. So you're able to tap into higher consciousness. It depends on like, if you are intentional about where you want to go specifically, you're like, I want to go to this place, then you may be more likely to go there, but it can be similar, you know, but it may not be exactly the same because some things might be more enhanced because you're connected to all of your centers. Your sight might be different, like you're seeing through your third eye versus like, you know. So it can be. It just
So
depends on your consciousness.
I think you haven't done psychedelics lately.
I've been
Microdosing?
Yeah, just small amounts, because I actually don't need.
Yeah, that's what we were talking.
My mindset.
Yeah.
I don't think I need like massive visions.
Yeah.
I've already kind of done it naturally, so I like to get many insights in daily life. You know, just kind of, so there's not much difference between there and here.
There is, you know, but I think that the places that you get to, you can explore with psychedelics, even go beyond. I've meditated for 20 years, so I speak as an avid meditator and a meditation coach at meditation retreats, and for me personally, it's uncontrollable. When you have a download on meditation, it's wow, this is great. I see stuff and I'm in contact with spirit. with psychedelics, like we've set up here, when you set, and Jazz just said, when you set that intention with the medicine, you'll my experience, again, I wouldn't say it's yours, the medicine takes me much further.
90% of the time you'll get what you're intended, but the only caveat is sometimes the medicine gives you what you need and not what you want.
Right.
Right?
That's the catch.
Yeah.
I said the other day, yeah, people come saying with the question of, should I fire my assistant? No, you're not going to get the answer to that. You know, they come to ayahuasca, you know, like, you know, should I find a new, you know, whatever website or anything? Question over there, yeah.
So I was just curious, what sort of path or what would you recommend to get to like the 27 if you don't have like an addiction problem, you just want to see like...
It's not only for addiction, it's for any kind of pattern breaking or looping.
Well, let's say you didn't want to go that far.
Okay, yeah, I would do start with a microdose.
Of that?
Yes. The Iboga is the microdose, and you just create it. You can create it if you're sensitive. You can, like I said, you work with the spirit of the plant. It'll speak to you. It's very, very, very direct.
If you're asking that question, I can tell you microdose is not going to do it.
You can start there.
And you should don't be afraid. If you want to get there, really.
It'll get
Because-
louder. If you're supposed to do it, it'll be loud.
Yeah.
It'll get louder until you do it.
There are so many different
It just sounds
medicines.
so extreme. Like what you described
It's
sounds
not.
like
He is an extreme. He's an extreme case. He was coming. He was. You have to hit him hard when you're coming off of hard stuff, right? There's ways to meet the medicine that like
like,
are
I
a little
get
bit more
fucked up
gentle.
from coffee. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really think that is that.
Like I said, a microdosing, creating a relationship with the spirit. Like
Yeah,
you can get there
yeah.
with meditation. You just have to meet the medicine more, right?
It's the spirit, right? So my addiction is just an expression of my spiritual illness. And all these medicines are just speaking to that spiritual illness. His expression happened to have been cocaine and blah, blah, blah. Somebody else could be that. But they're all, a fundamental thing is spiritual connection. So to go to it just for that without an expression is just as valid. That's what they're all getting to anyway.
But if you're looking for spiritual connection every moment of every day, which is what I'm doing.
Right.
But I feel like there's like a block. Like there's this like energetic block around my aura or heart or whatever. I feel like that, like microdosing or that, whatever, will allow me to open the veil.
Yeah, I agree with Artie. I 100%. A flood dose, and it doesn't have to be ibogaine. It doesn't have to be. It could be like 3 grams of mushrooms with the Retta, but it's that container, the setting. I'm telling you,
Yeah, it'll help.
it makes a huge difference.
And there's so many medicines.
Yeah.
It's like when we talk about like the medicine calls you, when you sit and you talk to people and you hear what the experiences are, you kind of know what's right for you, and you don't have to be blasted into oblivion. You can start very gentle.
Yes.
If you're not, but I'm talking about if you're not working with addiction or
Right.
severe mental illness, PTSD. If it's like I'm just blocked, I want some kind of opening. You can take it gentle, and so if I was like working with someone like you, I would dose in increments. You don't need to be blasted. You probably need I'm very sensitive. I need, I make the medicine and I'm in it. It's, if you're sensitive to it, you don't need a lot. So it's different. It's case by case, and that's why assessment is really important. And also what you were saying, Jazz. Not all medicines are right. So working with someone that's on SSRIs, and there's no point in me taking them onto a journey with what I use because it's going to block the medicine. So then there's other people that can take, and then they can come back. So we can all work together. And I think the most important thing is this is really a collaboration because we're all doing different things, but there's a purpose for everything.
I said it earlier, but I want to reinforce it. It's never been used medically for sick people. It's always been used. It's only lately that it's in that model. So when we did it in the 60s, we were like, I didn't know I was an addict, but we were like regular people. We weren't like, I wasn't suicidal when I did my LSD. I had my first love of my life. I was working. It was like life wasn't that bad. It was pretty cool. we have to validate that, and that's why we do our celebrations, because that is an important part of the whole thing. And I don't have to be sick to be celebrating the divine, you know? We should all be celebrating that every day. Yeah, question?
Hi, thank you for taking my questions and for presenting today. Could the speakers speak more to ideal setting frameworks? Are there general overarching universalities to ideal settings, or does it differ per case, per patient, or per substance or medicine?
Mm-hmm.
It's unique to the practitioner, you know, like we all have.
Yeah, let's get a little clip on that from everybody.
We all have different, like I consider myself like a futuristic version of a shaman, because like I use a lot of tech in my practice, you know. Like there's new ways of doing things, you know, and I love the traditions, and you know there's a place for that, but we also have new things, you know, and that's what we're doing essentially is we're hacking the consciousness, right? So why not bring the other things, right, to get you there faster, right? So that, I think it's really unique to the individual, you know, like we all have our own practices and our sacred clearing practices, and you know.
Yeah, jazz's setting, and I've been there many times, we've had celebrations there, she brings in a lot of high tech. And she has chi machines and legit stuff that, why not? You know, why not get people getting more oxygen, getting oxygenated, getting more balance? So for her setting, in her modalities, this, right, and the vibe. I walk into Jazz's place and I'm high. I can't find my car. And I walk out, I'm like, where did I find? It's only one driveway, but like, I'm like, was it in there or was it, I don't know, you know, type thing. So energetically, I know what she delivers, right? But she's created that, and I think that's what we're going to find out if we go down the panel on the flood dose. Do you create a setting, and you travel, and you do. What's important to you?
What's important is a quiet space, a sacred space, nobody around. Confidentiality, and it's like, what does the person need? Mm-hmm. And outdoor space, indoor space, that's all important.
So that's part of your pre-work,
yes.
And then you'll determine that.
Yes, but so everyone is different. I can have somebody that will have an eye mask on for 8 hours, or I can have someone that's dancing outside and needs to be in nature, but you've got to just keep them safe. So there's got to be some kind of boundary around the space. You don't want people wandering off.
Yeah.
And that's the unsafety I've been in ceremony in Hawaii, where there was, it was so unsafe, the setting, and there was streams at the side and drops, and people were getting lost. It was a disaster.
Yeah.
We had to make a rule. We didn't know, but we had to turn it into a rule. We had to tell people not to climb up trees. So, because somebody got stuck up a tree once. Yeah, we didn't know until it happened, obviously. So, now, you get
crazy shit that will happen. If I'm running groups, there'll be a big check-in around do's and don'ts and keeping people safe, because that's really what our job is.
So this is a more permanent setting. You're kind of mobile, but you know what elements you're going to bring into that setting that's going to create the ideal environment. Yes. How about you, Susan?
So as a church, we do a lot of work with the community, and so we have group ceremonies that are communion as our church. And so I get people that want to come in and are letting go of old addictions.
We've approved you to extend to 3 o'clock if you wish.
What?
To 3 o'clock. You were scheduled to 2. That was 4 hours. We're going to give you another hour. I think it takes you 5 hours. You can go to 3 o'clock.
And so
I don't think people have to leave.
Understood, but I'm sure that you requested that, so I'm letting you know. I was told you requested, or someone requested an extra hour.
No,
Will you
I didn't.
But if you don't,
No,
just please end it too.
And I have a team with me that, you know, some of my team are here in the audience. And, you know, this is where, what I love about the group ceremonies and this particular medicine is that it's a diverse group of people that come to this medicine. So you could have Republicans, Democrats in the same space with their hearts open, all loving each other, holding hands, singing Kumbaya. You can have people that, you know, it's all different age ranges, and then different ethnicities, different religious beliefs, you know, to where everybody shows up as strangers, you don't know anybody, and then you leave with your heart open and connected to like-minded individuals. So the group ceremonies are beautiful, but there are people that aren't a fit for the group ceremonies, especially with 5-MeO, just because of how intense it is and the trauma release that can happen. So people that have, issues with, loud noises, or people, hearing people scream, or witnessing somebody else release trauma, So sometimes people aren't a good fit for the group ceremonies, and, they wanted to book a private ceremony. And so we also do private group ceremonies where I rent out a space, and I'll have about 15 people come, and then we do the introduction, the prayers, the meditation, the breath work, the setting the intentions together as a group. But then when it's time for each individual to do their journey, we take them back to a private room where I have my team, my students there to serve each person. And then after everybody is complete with their journey, we bring them back out, we feed them food, and then we do the integration circle together.
Great.
And then I have people that want just maybe to book a private for maybe themselves or as a couple, or they have a group of friends. I did a bachelor party where these men didn't want to go to a strip club, they wanted to do something that was, a beautiful rite of passage into, a new phase of their life. And so private ceremonies, when it's one-on-one, and when I go to locations, like I have it where I'll go to LA County, Orange County, and I'll go to people's private residences or private Airbnbs, no shared rooms with the owners on the property. Because sometimes people can scream and it can get loud, and I don't go to hotels for these types of journeys because, we get a screamer every once in a while that, can sound pretty intense. You don't want security called on you while that's happening. I'm really detailed about whenever I go to people's houses about making sure that their pets are put away, because sometimes people can have really traumatic releases, or sometimes people need to be restrained when they have that full release. So if you have a dog that's like very docile, and if he doesn't know what's going on and he's seeing us like try to restrain you, he might get protective. So I always tell people to have their pets away. And then also roommates. I always ask about roommates because I've had a few situations where the roommate did not know what was happening. And I didn't know that they had a roommate, and so they had the whole ceremony space set up in their living room. They moved the coffee table. In the middle of his full release, his roommate came home early and walked into the ceremony. So I'm real particular about making sure that everything is safe and private.
Yeah, and I think what we're picking up here, when you do hear a dose, you really have to be meticulous about the setting and really care for it the way these guys are talking. I can say 3 things. It's so easy to have a great experience. Just 3 things, right? You don't do, Christian, maybe I'm not familiar. In general, Amanita is a microdose or low dose type thing, but how much of your work is in the full dose type setting with a ceremony? I know we're doing a church thing at our Spring Awakening in April, but that's not...
Yeah, I mean, we don't work with people with large doses for Amanita as of yet, but I think, to the general question, like, set and setting is, different settings can elicit different results, and like, there's not necessarily a right set or setting. It's really dependent on the intention of the individual. So like a ceremony with jazz is going to have a different result than a celebration with you, or taking psychedelics at a festival, or whatever it may be, and like, it just depends on what an individual is looking for. I think then there's, the concept of set and setting with something like microdosing, or utilizing the Amanita, which is generally an experience that's integratable into one's day-to-day life. So you're taking it while you're going about your day-to-day activities. And in that sense, it's largely like ensuring that we're focusing on the alterations and the changes that are happening. And that, comes from generally watching thought processes and like watching reactions to things, taking note of how things might be slightly different. And that takes some diligence and concentration and focus, which, a lot of people really don't think about their thoughts or watch their thought processes. And when one starts diving into these realms, like it's a really, really important aspect of the healing and the growth and the evolution that can occur.
And you bring up another thing about microdosing. We teach to use it like a hero dose, right? So a little moment before you do your spray, just holding the medicine or your mushroom or whatever it is, just that it changes it. We've seen it. We get the feedback all the time, just that surrender. So even a microdose, right, can have a setting, right? The thing about microdose is the idea is you're in life. So the setting is life, right? You know, it's like, that's it, deal with it, you know. Like, and but there's still an internal setting that we could do, give it respect. Don't just pop it like an Advil. No, it's not that at all. You're talking to a friend, right? Thank you for asking that. Yeah, Al.
Yeah, put this into context, my question. For a year and a half, I mean, it was hell going through it, observing my son. I would spend half the week trying to find out what hotel he's in, if he didn't return phone calls, just to see if he's overdosed. So my question is, how long is this going to last?
Yeah, that's such a great question. No, you know, the truth, no, let's talk truth, you know. The truth, Al, it's not a given that Artie's going to be this a year from now. And that's just the truth of it. The failure rate with Iboga is there. It lasts for a while, and then they get back into the friends, the things, the thought patterns. AA, your success in AA, I was in AA for many years, 1 in 33. And AA is always put up as like, oh, AA, 1 in 33.
You have
1 in 33.
You have a lot higher odds with Iboga. We can't take away the triggers in life, you know, so like, it really depends on the person's constitution. Boosters help, right? So a lot of times with addicts, you know, like if you continue to microdose or boosters, it like will keep it as a reminder in the system. So, you know, they can stay on track for longer periods of time. But it really depends on it's case dependent. Some people are one and done. Some people, you know, like, you know, when they have catalysts that happen in life, you know, they'll get re-triggered.
Right.
You know, just we can't control those things. You know, some things are an act of God. But with Iboga, we have the highest odds we do, and you know, across the board when it comes to treatment of addiction.
Yeah. As a you know, exile from the cult of Alcoholics Anonymous, there is some wisdom there, and the wisdom is people, places, and things, and you know that, Artie. And staying away from them plays a big role. The guys you hung out with, you're doing the coke with, you can't. And that's why, again, community is so important.
Yep.
This is my community, not the crowd I ran with when I was on the street doing my cocaine.
Now, what you're doing by bringing people to Mexico,
I was just gonna say that.
That helps, yeah.
Yeah, because you know what it is? Like, just like you saw the elephant, just like you saw that you need to help people, I literally saw a program, like clear as day in my mind, and it basically was telling me to bring 100 people to do Iboga in the next year and create an army of soldiers of the medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm telling you clear as day, I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that at heart, it's what I need to stay strong and to keep myself accountable. Because how am I going to be the general of an army of 100 Iboga soldiers but be doing cocaine?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big part of what you call like the catch is you don't know, like, just like you said, I mean, it's crazy. Everything that you said resonated with me because it really transfers to you. Like, I could give a shit less about this suit, these $1,000 sunglasses, the cars, all of that is so momentary, it's so nonsensical to me. You know, you remember I told you about my mom?
Mhm.
She said, what do you want, R.D. John, for your 40th birthday? And I looked at her and I laughed.
Yeah.
That's what it does to you.
Yeah.
So
I love
cocaine
that.
is even more laughable.
Thank you. Let's hit another question. Yeah. I'm sorry?
May I add to that?
Oh, how to maintain the vision, the awakening. Yeah.
That is the one thing we've been discussing so much. We're going to put it out there that we are actually here to collaborate with everybody here and with you guys, because the biggest thing we've seen is the timing and the sequencing of dosing things that you're doing. When you integrate the health side as well as the mental and emotional, as well as the mindfulness, you have to have a whole package. And I see the reason this happens is when people get back into their environments, they can hold it. But if you're staying actively involved, like you said, and also we work together to compare our notes and collaborate, we can help more people as a team, even if we're in separate places.
Yeah.
Then we can part.
It's just never over. It's such a deep experience, and it's so layered and ancient, like that. We're just connected. Like we talk every day. I did not know this woman a month ago. She came here from Mexico for me.
We're like family now.
Yeah. It's a big package. I think a lot of those habits, though, from my perspective, they happen automatically. The wanting to